Hello. There is nothing that quite divides the smart home community like a smart home dashboard does. On the one hand, you have a group of people that absolutely love dashboards and that's their favorite way to use their smart home. And then on the other hand, you have a bunch of other people who say that if a smart home is actually smart, then you don't need a dashboard and everything should just happen automatically. I personally like looking at dashboards because while I am a firm believer that a smart home should have everything happen automatically, at some point you will need to interact with your smart home, be that through your voice or through a dashboard or some other means, buttons, whatever it is. And I think a dashboard is probably the best way to do that. So why not have a really nice looking and just over the top, ridiculously well-designed dashboard for the odd occasion that you do need to use it, or for guests or whatever it is. So last week on Twitter and YouTube and Discord, I put out a question asking for you guys to submit your dashboards so that I could take a look at them, get some inspiration, and then give you guys a rating and hopefully give some tips on how you could improve your dashboard. And also you can get tips from all of the other dashboards that we're going to look at and implement them into your one. So we've got a bunch of submissions, actually way more submissions than I ever expected. There was like over 100 submissions. So we're probably gonna have to do like 2 or 3 videos on rating your dashboards. If that is something you want to see and you enjoyed this type of video, then let me know down in the comments and we can do more. Now I do just want to mention that I am not a designer or a user experience person or anything like that. So what I enjoy and what my preferences are could be completely different to what your preferences are. And that is totally okay. Everyone's got their own opinions and their own tastes. So everything I'm about to say is just my personal opinion and my preferences. And with that said, let's just get into the first one. Okay, so the first dashboard we have is from Abel. So he says this is based on the minimalist guide that we did a couple of months back. And yeah, you can definitely see that there is a lot of the minimalist elements in this. Definitely a minimalist dashboard, and it is in dark mode. So there is a little bit of custom or tweaking that has been done to his one compared to the one I did. I do enjoy that it's all dark mode. You guys know I'm a big fan of dark mode. First things I noticed, I do like that these little icons up at the top, and they're all kind of the same color apart from the thermostat, which is in the middle and it's in red, and it kind of stands out a little bit more for a thermostat. I guess it goes red when it's actually heating and probably goes back to blue when it's turned off. He's also got the room cards, so you guys know that I lay out my dashboard similar to this with the room cards, and then you tap on the rooms and it takes you into further navigation. He's got his people cards up at the top also. The one thing I will mention is that I think for me, the room cards are a little bit big and they take up a little bit too much room when you could have them, or you could have more information in there, or just a little bit cleaner design. I also would prefer if these were in alphabetical order. Personally, it kind of throws me off when they're all just randomly laid out. He probably has the ones that he uses the controls more at the top, so living room and bedroom. But for me personally, I would like them to be alphabetical. And then in his room views, you can see that he's got a very similar design to my minimalist guide, with the addition of these images up at the top. So you can see in his bedroom, he's got a nice little image. I think that's cool, adds a little bit of color to the design and kind of breaks it up a little bit. And then he's got his temperature and luminance. And then he also has these scene buttons with a collapsible button to sort of hide all the ones he's not using. So that's kind of cool to have like quick access or quick toggles for all of the scenes. And then I do like these colors on these cards. It kind of just adds a little bit of color to the overall dashboard and kind of makes it pop out a little bit. And then he's got his media controls. So really nice dashboard. I really like all of these sort of elements and sort of colors. Super clean design. You know, I'm a big fan of this sort of design. Overall, I'm going to give this dashboard a 9 out of 10. It would have been a 9.5, but because of this, what he has playing on the TV, I can't go higher than 9. No, I'm just kidding. Solid 9 out of 10 to start with. Okay, so the next one we have is from Alpha 7, and this is his tablet dashboard. You can see that he's using a lot of the stock cards from Home Assistant, as well as it looks like some button cards. Overall, it's a really functional sort of design. He's got a lot of control elements that are easy to use, and they've got big touch targets. So you can see up at the top, we have these big tap buttons as well as our door locks. So yeah, really functional design. The thing I would try and improve with this is to give it a bit more flow and try and organize all of the buttons a little bit better. At the moment, it kind of just feels like everything's been thrown onto the page and there's no sort of clear sections or clear sort of layout. I mean, you've got buttons kind of in all over the page. You've got them in the top left, and then it goes into some sensor information, and then goes into weather, and then you've got another button down here, and then more buttons up here on the right. So just to overall improve the sort of flow and break up some of the sections, or break up some of the buttons into clear sections, that might help the overall usability of it. But other than that, it's very functional. It's got everything on that you would need. Everything looks like you can access it really easily. The other thing I would also make use of is to use some vertical stacks as well as horizontal stacks, and that'll kind of keep everything in line. You can see that a lot of the elements are sort of not lined up with each other and kind of different heights, and they're kind of all higgledy-piggledy. But other than that, really good job. I would give this a 6 out of 10. Okay, so the next one we have is from Anas. So he is also using a very sort of similar design to the minimalist design. He's got up at the top his welcome sort of card and navigation. He has made what looks like some significant changes or tweaks to the welcome card. So typically you would have these 5 navigation buttons, and then you would have a sort of welcome message. It looks like he's got rid of that welcome message and replaced it with these smaller little badges or chips that contain information. I actually really like that. It shows temperature as well as humidity and how many lights he's got on. That's a really nice addition, and if you don't like the welcome message, that can be a more effective way to use the space. Below that, he's also got his people cards. So he's got 5 people cards, and I do like that he's included the battery information as well as charge state and Wi-Fi symbols onto the card also. That is a nice little touch. The thing I will say is that the last updated time on the cards actually take up a little bit too much room. I would personally move these icons, so the 3 icons, over onto the right hand side, maybe stack them vertically, and then get rid of that last updated time. I don't think that's a useful thing to have. And then that'll squish your card right down so that you can bring up the rest of your elements and have more in view. So all of these room cards would then come up a little bit, and then you'll get more on the page and be able to see more without having to scroll down, which I do think does improve the usability, but that's a really minor thing. Below that, he's got his room cards, and I also like that he's included these little icons on them too. That is also really cool. I also like that the room so the icon has a brighter color if the light is on in the room, and then it's got if you notice really closely, he's got like a darker tinge to the rest of the card. That's pretty cool. So you'll notice down under security and labs, obviously they don't have lights, but I would like to see that same color on those cards too, so a darker green here and then a darker blue here. That'll just make everything feel the same and a bit more cohesive. But yeah, really cool. I like these little icons. I like how they're all in color. It just kind of brings everything together and makes it a little bit more vibrant. And then if we scroll over into his rooms, so the people cards you can also swipe over. So you'll notice he has a view where all of these cards you can actually swipe over to get more information on before you actually leave the page. That is really cool. You could include more useful information that you maybe don't need to see all of the time, but you could access really quickly. I do like those. I think the icons could do with being a little bit bigger. You'll see that there is a lot of wasted or excess space around that could better be utilized by having a bigger icon or bigger text. And then the room cards also have these icons in them too. Again, look how small these icons are compared to the rest of the space that's actually available. They could do with being a little bit bigger. Even this one that's full up, the icons could be bigger, but really minor thing there. What else we got? And he's also got a 3D floor plan on one of his views. Presumably this would show temperatures for each room, and you can also see that he's got one of those 3D views that when you turn on a light, it'll actually show the light and it kind of illuminates everything around it. That is really cool. I do like those things. So yeah, really nice job. Not too much to complain about at all, really. I would give this a 9 out of 10. Okay, the next one we have is from Assassin's Creed on Discord, and he sent a video. So this is a very, as you can see, a very gamer focused or very gamer orientated dashboard. It's very functional. It's got hundreds of controls, like controls for everything right on your fingertips. This would be a really functional dashboard in terms of how quick it is to actually use everything. You'll notice as we go through all of the pages, it's like every page is created to be like its own sort of remote control. It's a little bit crowded and a little bit too busy for me personally, but I do appreciate that this has quick access and quick controls for just about everything on the dashboard. You can tell that there's been a lot of effort put into this to just have every control available and every control accessible. I'm gonna give this a solid 6.5 out of 10. Again, a little bit too busy for me personally, but if this is what you're into, then it is a really good design. This next one was submitted by Basbros on our Discord server, and he is actually the developer, or one of the developers for Minimalist. And this is pretty much close to my perfect tablet dashboard. So this is what he calls the adaptive dashboard. And as you can see, he has the controls on the left, and then whatever he's clicking on changes on the right to actually change what you're viewing. So you can see that it kind of scrolls up and scrolls down and slides in as he's clicking on different items. I really love this dashboard. As you can see, as he narrows the screen, it then sort of adapts and changes to the screen size to fit perfectly. The only thing for me is I would have the left-hand column sort of taken up maybe a third of the space. So at the moment it's currently taken up half of the screen, or what you're looking at is then on the other half of the screen. I would personally have this take up like a third of the screen, and then whatever you're clicking on would then change on the right hand side and you'd have more visibility. So I would probably have my rooms on the left, and then as you're clicking on the different rooms, that would change on the right and you would have more controls. That would be my perfect dashboard, but this is an extremely nice looking dashboard. I'm amazed at how good this dashboard looks and how well it works. Credit to him, he's done an amazing job with taking the Minimalist project forward. So I would give this like a 9.5 out of 10 for sure. The next one we have is from an absolute mad lad called Bearded Tinker. This one's from Bearded Tinker, and I think this is going to be a super polarizing design. As I'm sure many of you will know, this is based on the Star Trek LCARS design, which I know is going to be very popular with some of you at least. This has probably been the design I've seen the most people requesting over the years, that they want to make something that looks like this. This definitely reminds me of something from like the 70s or the 80s, which when I think of the smart home, I want to think of something more futuristic and not something back from the 70s or 80s. But I do get that there will be a nostalgia feel for a lot of people who grew up with Star Trek or grew up enjoying Star Trek. For me personally, it's not for me, you know? But I have to say that this is a very well done theme. Whoever designed this has done a fantastic job. In fact, who did design this? This was done by the Jesta on GitHub. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to copy this theme or use this theme. Also, Bearded Tinker did just do a video on how to implement this theme, which I will also link to, or go watch that video if you want to implement something like this. But yeah, it is a really well done theme. It's just a little bit old for me. What's wrong with that? Literally the only thing I can actually point to is these little sliders on the lights don't quite fit to the rest of the border. You can see there's a faint outline there of the light sliders, but that's a tiny little flaw. The rest of it is actually super well done if you're into this sort of thing. And he has also got a design for the NS panel. So you can see that this one is all sort of in the center, and that is so that it can fit on his NS panel. Do make sure to go check out his video, and if you want to implement this for yourself. I'm not even going to rate this for the fear of the backlash that I'll get for not liking Star Trek, so no rating. So this next one is done by Birkins, and this was again submitted on Discord. This is based on a mushroom design, as you can see from some of the cards. So this is a very familiar theme if you followed any of my videos, but you can tell that there has been some tweaks made that do sort of add his own touch onto it. Firstly, these sort of icons I do like. They're kind of fun and they add a little bit of color into the whole theme. So he's got these splashes of color all throughout with the icons and the light colors. Really well done. The only thing I will say is that some of these icons take up a little bit too much room. So you'll see that this cloud icon pushes everything down quite significantly. Again with this icon. And if we look through some of the others, here's a good example. This icon down here pushes this whole UI space down by like this much, instead of being up and closer together and maybe a little bit smaller. And that pushes all of the usable actual elements down so that you have to scroll for them. And personally, I would make these a little bit smaller and get rid of all of this dead space. That is a lot of wasted space there, and sort of move everything up. And then my only other complaint is the thermostat cards don't really fit in with the rest of the design. They kind of look out of place, at least to me. Everything else is really sort of seamless and works well together. Again, there's a lot of wasted space around this icon here. Basically, those icons and the thermostat is the only thing I would change. But other than that, really solid and really well done dashboard. You've put a lot of effort into this one, I can tell, and solid 8.5 out of 10. This next one is from Chris, and this is another mobile dark mode design. And you can see that he's using a lot of sort of these tiles. I do appreciate that all of these icons are nicely aligned and they've all got clear, well spaced and equally spaced, so everything is nicely in a grid and sort of lines up. It kind of reminds me of like a Windows 8 sort of tile affair where everything had, all of the icons had tiles. There is a little bit too much graphs for me personally. It's nice to show all of your temperatures in your different rooms for at a glance, but the graphs are just a little bit too much again for me personally. And this thermostat takes up a lot of space where you could replace it with some other informational sort of stuff. But again, really functional design, and it's got a lot of controls on there. Up the top, he also has like his light controls and his speakers. So yeah, you can tell he's a big fan of these sort of tiles throughout the dashboard, and he's also got his graphs. Nice, simple, but functional dashboard. I'm gonna give this a solid 7 out of 10. Wait, he spelled my name wrong. 6.5 out of 10. Oh wait, he's corrected himself. 7 out of 10. Okay, so this next one up is from Dave Crane, who is one of the mods on Discord. This one is actually designed for Raspberry Pi touchscreens that Dave has around his house. So he's got loads of Raspberry Pi touchscreens dotted around that can be used to control his smart home. This is a very functional design. He's got everything you would need on it. So he's got all of his controls and they're all really easy to use. There's a little bit too much going on for me personally with all the different colors and just sort of everything all at once, but I can definitely appreciate the consistency of the design as well as the rounding, as well as all the colors. It's all very consistent through all of the dashboards and all of the different views he's got. The only thing I can point to that is not consistent that I could possibly nitpick on is the rounding on the TV channels here. They're square instead of the round design that he has on all of the other UI elements, but that is a very minor complaint and everything else is super consistent. Again, this is a very functional dashboard and it just has all of the main controls that you would need, and he's done well to fit everything onto a small display. Oh, and he also wanted me to show this LED sort of matrix design he's come up with. He's been building these. These are made out of ESP32s and he builds them himself to show off the weather on top of his TV, which is actually really cool. And he's also got an EP1 down there. Nice. Oh yeah, and this power graph is like super satisfying to actually look at. I could stare at that all day. It's just so fun to watch all the different flows coming off and see what's being used. Sick. I'm gonna give this a solid 7.5 out of 10. This next one is from Idan, and up at the top, again, we have a mobile sort of mushroom or minimalist inspired design. Up at the top, he has sort of this notification area, which is kind of cool. So he's got any important information that he needs to know displayed in these red and yellow. Really nice if you're just looking at your phone at a glance and you can get that information. And he's also added quite a lot of additional icons, including the weather, and then he's got his, looks like scene controls, and then his lock and alarm status, as well as how many lights are on, temperature, blinds, etc. And then he's got his people card with these nice little icons again underneath. I really like this actually. I might try and incorporate something like this into our dashboard with the little battery percentage. And overall, I just like the colors. He's went for a blue background instead of a pure dark background, which I think is nice. It's kind of a little bit different to what everyone else does, including myself. And then all of the little colors just add a nice little bit of vibrance to the overall theme and make it a little bit more fun. So he's got like everything laid out really nicely in a grid. You've got these 9 icons and they're all perfectly aligned with each other and everything is super satisfying. And then he's got them broken up by these little divider sections, which is a nice way to kind of just break up the wall of buttons. Yeah, this is a really cool dashboard. On his media player, the thing that's a little bit different here is he's got, looks like quick toggles or quick controls, but instead of having the slider, he's actually got individual buttons for each volume level, which is perhaps a nicer way, because you're, instead of going like sliding to try and get the exact volume level you want, you can just hit a button. That's nice. And the other thing he's got is a separate view for a 3D floor plan. You can see that he's got a floor plan here, which is a different view in his mobile, and he's kind of mapped out the whole house and drawn it in 3D, which is cool. There's a little bit too many icons on this page, so it's a little bit cluttered. Like over here, there's a lot of icons going on. It'd be easy to like maybe hit the wrong button and toggle the wrong thing, but I can appreciate this takes a lot of time, and yeah, I can definitely appreciate the effort put into it. He's even mapped the outside, which is cool. So he's got like the outside view of his house and then all of the lights and different things he has outside. That is really cool. You can tell there's been so much effort or a lot of time put into this design. So really nice job there. Yeah, I like this one. Give this one a 9 I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. Next up, we have a tablet dashboard from JK. This is based on the tablet dashboard from Matias, which some of you might be familiar with, and then it uses the Noctis theme. I am a big fan of this dashboard. It's a very much one of my favorites I've seen so far. This is a really well done dashboard. I love the sidebar. That is my favorite way to do tablet navigation, is to have a sidebar with the different rooms and the different views over on the left, and then have your controls on the right, which is what has been done here. So he's got his different rooms over on the left. He's also got these like informational or notifications just underneath that. Really handy way to display useful information. And then it looks like he's got some scenes and then his people down on the bottom left. And then in the main view that takes up the majority of the room, you've also got, or you've got all of your controls. So he's got some, looks like, I guess these are some favorites, or maybe these are devices that are on up in the highlights section. And then he's also got quick actions and then his sensors below that. This is a really, really well done dashboard. I can tell there's been a lot of time and effort put into this one. And as you can see, he can scroll through his different views and then gets all of the different devices for those sections. This is just super nice. I love this one. I love how consistent everything is. Everything is nicely laid out in this sort of grid. Everything is the same size, all the icons are the same. Color scheme, everything just works so well and everything is aligned perfectly. I like the blue when something is on, as also the orange if it's more of a warning type thing, so a door being unlocked. And then below he's got his vacuum controls. He's called it Tuba? The only thing I would say does not fit with the rest of the dashboard is this graph and these charts. These could definitely be improved, at least for me. I think, again, an Apex would be a better fit for this dashboard and would fit in with the rest of the UI elements. Again, that is a really minor complaint. This is really close to my perfect tablet dashboard, and I definitely want to implement some of this design into my own one when I get around to doing it. So really, really well done. 9.5 out of 10. And this is probably my favorite mobile design that I have ever seen. This is from Leon, and he said that he started this design in Figma and then ported it over to Home Assistant, and you can definitely tell there is a lot going on here and it's a really well designed dashboard. Oh, I love this one. This just looks so incredibly professional and well done, almost like it's a concept, but this is his actual dashboard. So up the top he has the temperature, and you can slide across and get different temperatures for different rooms. And then he's got his navigation buttons, and then he also has some light sliders down here. I just love how well all of these UI elements fit together and work together. I love the little things like the gradients on the lights as well as the gradients on the temperature. It's just such a nice touch and just makes everything work so well together. Yeah, he's also got the navigation down on the bottom, which is actually really useful for mobile, because typically with mobile you're maybe using one hand, so it's easier to reach down at the bottom. He's got his television remote, this is his media section. Again, everything just fits so well. And then this is his robot vacuum, he's called it Wally. And then it's got the actual floor map of the vacuum, and then he's got all of his different controls. Again, the color scheme is just so perfect. All of the UI elements are just so perfectly together. You can see how he slides through and gets all of the different temperatures. It's actually hard to believe that this is in Home Assistant, just because of just the contrast of how different this is to the stock UI. You wouldn't think something like this was possible. And here it is in light mode as well, if you're a fan of that. So it seems to automatically switch depending on if your phone is set to dark mode or light mode. The dashboard will also switch, which is a nice addition. If you're watching this, I literally need to know how you did this. Please, I need this in my life. I want this on my dashboard. Amazing job. Literally, I cannot score this anything other than 10 out of 10. It's an absolutely insane dashboard and is my new favorite by far dashboard that I have ever seen. So yeah, really great job. Those two dashboards are going to be extremely difficult to follow. Next up, we have one from Maxwell. So this is a dark mode mobile layout, as you can tell. I like these little navigation icons up the top, so it looks like that takes you to home, this takes you into hacks, this takes you to, or maybe as a restart button, and this takes you into settings, something like that. It looks like he's using button card for a lot of the UI elements. I like how everything is laid out. It looks like there is a lot of consistency between the UI elements. There's 4 over here and that kind of lines up, and yeah, it's just nice. These line up here with here. Everything is really well aligned, which I do appreciate. The only thing is it's a little bit busy for me again, which is fine. And also the white border is extremely overpowering. It's kind of the first thing and it just draws your eye constantly when you're looking at this dashboard. So yeah, for me, I would dial down the white, especially when you move over to this page and there's like a lot more buttons. It gets extremely busy with the white and you kind of don't know where to look, at least for me. But yeah, I can definitely appreciate all of the consistency of the alignment of all of the icons. This control here sort of doesn't fit in. It's nice that it breaks up the wall of icons, but it kind of doesn't fit in with the rest of the UI elements. But that's okay. This remote page is also really cool. I could actually see that being useful. And finally, you broke up the white border by putting these different colored ones around them. That actually makes it look different. So for example, if you look at how improved this page is just with this little bit of color compared to the white on this page, it's a lot easier to look at. So yeah, the white is just too much. It's too much for me. I'm gonna give this a solid 6.5 out of 10. Okay, so next up we have Shillas on Twitter, and this is his mobile dashboard. So the thing I noticed immediately is he's got these like swipe elements in the middle so you can swipe through and get the different temperatures. I also like this sort of grid of buttons or navigation buttons up at the top, kind of really useful. The only thing I will say is I think this could probably do with getting rid of, so it looks like you've got navigation buttons here, but you've also got the top bar. And then look when he presses on one of the navigation buttons. So he presses on the navigation button here and then it takes him up here. So since you have your navigation buttons already on the page, you could get rid of this top bar, hide that top bar, and then make use of the back buttons or the back chip or the subviews feature in Home Assistant. And then that'll save you some space and some clutter of having this top bar up here. But yeah, I really like how everything is laid out, all of the UI elements. Super nice, clean, white design. Even though I'm not a fan of light things, I can definitely appreciate this. And yeah, I like all the alignment. Everything is perfectly aligned. And yeah, just super easy to use. It's got pretty much all of the information you would need. So temperature and humidity, as well as your controls, but it doesn't have any extra things to sort of distract you. And then this is his room view. It looks like he's got his lights up at the top here, as well as the blind control down here, thermostat, and then temperature and humidity. And then he's also got icons for movement as well as his door sensor. So really clean, really well done. Again, just that top bar I would remove and make use of the back buttons on subviews or in Mushroom. And yeah, really well done. I'm gonna give this another 8.5 out of 10. Okay, so hopefully you actually found that useful. That was a lot of dashboards that we just looked at, but hopefully you learned something and hopefully I gave some actually useful feedback on how to improve your dashboards, at least for me. Again, it's just my opinion. You may have a completely different opinion. Since we got so many submissions for this, we could probably do like another 2 or 3 episodes at least and take a look at even more dashboards. There were so many submissions, which was really cool. Thank you so much for submitting your dashboards. If you want to see more of this type of video and we go through and sort of rate your setups and rate your dashboards, do let me know in the comments if it's something you're interested in. Please make sure to comment that down below and we can definitely make that happen if enough people want to or enjoy this type of video and think it's useful. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to drop this video a like and get subscribed if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so the next one, and again, is a minimalist. But basically, this is a super